ever pondered over the possibility of controlling the weather? It's a thought that's crossed our minds at some point, isn't it? The power to manipulate the skies, to command the winds, to orchestrate the rainfall. It sounds like something straight out of a superhero comic book. But what if I told you that it's not as far-fetched as it seems? Controlling the weather, in essence, is about harnessing the power of nature. It's about understanding the intricate dance of the elements and stepping in to lead. Now, this doesn't mean we'd have a dial to turn up the sunshine or a switch to bring on the snow. The science behind weather manipulation is complex, fascinating, and a little bit controversial. One of the most common methods is cloud seeding, a technique where particles are released into the clouds to stimulate precipitation. It's a bit like giving the clouds a nudge, encouraging them to let go of their moisture. A gentle way of asking for rain, if you will. Then there's the larger, more ambitious field of climate engineering. This involves large-scale interventions to alter the climate, usually with the goal of mitigating the effects of global warming. We're talking about mammoth projects like space mirrors to deflect sunlight, or iron fertilization of oceans to promote carbon-absorbing plankton growth. These are big ideas with big implications. The power to control the weather would give humanity an unprecedented level of influence over our environment. It's a tantalizing prospect, but one that also raises a host of ethical, political, and environmental questions. Who gets to decide when and where it rains? What would be the impact on ecosystems? And could we really trust ourselves with such power? It might sound like science fiction, but the seeds of this future are already being sown. Weather manipulation is no longer purely the domain of daydreams and hypotheticals. So, let's delve deeper into the world where we could control the skies. Imagine no more random showers on your parade, no more scorching heat ruining your picnic. The power to control the weather, it's a fascinating thought, isn't it? The question is, are we ready for it? Now, let's dive into the sunny side of weather control. Imagine a world where we have the power to prevent natural disasters. No more hurricanes sweeping through coastal towns. No more devastating floods or crippling droughts. This power could potentially save millions of lives and billions of dollars in damages every year. It's an exciting prospect, isn't it? But the benefits of weather control extend beyond disaster prevention. Consider agriculture, the backbone of many economies. Farmers often face the mercy of unpredictable weather patterns. Too much rain can flood crops, while too little can lead to drought and poor harvests. With weather control, we could provide the ideal conditions for growth, boosting agricultural productivity. We could ensure that no one goes hungry and that our food supply remains stable. Now let's take a moment to think about tourism. How many times have you planned a vacation only to be disappointed by unexpected rainfall or unseasonably cold temperatures? Weather control could create ideal tourist conditions, making every destination a year-round attraction. This could significantly boost local economies that rely on tourism. Water scarcity is another pressing issue that weather control could address. By manipulating rainfall, we could direct water to areas that need it most. No more dry wells or parched fields. Clean, fresh water would be available to everyone, everywhere. Lastly, let's not forget about climate change. We're all too familiar with its devastating effects. Rising sea levels, intense heat waves, melting ice caps. Weather control could be a powerful tool in our fight against climate change. By controlling the weather, we could potentially cool our warming planet and slow down the melting of ice caps. A world where we have the power to control the weather sounds like something out of a science fiction novel. But with the rapid advancements in technology, it may not be as far-fetched as it seems. A world without natural disasters and with perfect weather sounds like a utopia, doesn't it? But what happens when this power falls into the wrong hands? Imagine for a moment a world where nations don't just battle with guns and bombs, but with thunderstorms and hurricanes. That's right, weather warfare. A chilling prospect, don't you think? There are international treaties in place to prevent this, but as we've seen in history, rules can be broken in the pursuit of power. So, let's delve deeper. the ability to control weather could lead to a new form of warfare where nations could cripple each other, not with bullets, but with blizzards, droughts, or floods. It's a horrifying thought, but a possibility we can't ignore. But the potential misuse of weather control isn't just confined to warfare. It could also wreak havoc on our planet's delicate ecological balance. The weather isn't just about whether you need an umbrella or sunglasses when you step outside. It's a complex system that affects the life cycles of countless species. If we start meddling with these systems, the consequences could be catastrophic. Imagine causing a drought that wipes out a whole species of plants, or creating a storm that decimates a population of migratory birds. And then there's the issue of global inequality. If nations can control their weather, what's to stop wealthier nations from hoarding all the good weather for themselves? They could ensure constant sunshine for their citizens, while poorer nations are left to suffer with harsh conditions. It could exacerbate the divide between the haves and the have-nots, creating a world where the weather is yet another commodity bought and sold by the highest bidder. Finally, we must grapple with the ethical dilemmas associated with such power. Just because we can do something, does it mean we should? Who gets to decide what's best for our planet's weather? These are complex questions, and they don't have easy answers. The power to control weather isn't just a scientific challenge, but a moral one too. What does our pop culture say about weather control? Well, it seems that our movies, books, and video games are fascinated by the idea. Weather control is often depicted as an awe-inspiring godlike power, a testament to human ingenuity, and more often than not, a metaphor for human hubris. Let's take a walk through the pop culture landscape. In cinema, weather control often takes center stage. For instance, in the science fiction film Geostorm, a network of satellites designed to control the Earth's climate becomes a threat when it malfunctions. The movie uses weather control to highlight our dependency on technology and the potential catastrophic consequences of its misuse. In literature, weather control often symbolizes the duality of human nature. Take the classic novel The Tempest by William Shakespeare. Prospero, the protagonist, uses his magical powers to control the weather and create a storm, reflecting his internal emotional turmoil. Here, weather control acts as a metaphor for our ability to influence and manipulate our surroundings, often with unforeseen consequences. And who can forget the video games? In the popular game Final Fantasy, weather control is a recurring theme. Characters use magical abilities to manipulate weather, symbolizing their power and control over the elements. This reflects our fascination with the idea of controlling nature, a recurring theme throughout human history. However, weather control is not always portrayed positively. It's often associated with hubris, the belief that we can control and manipulate nature without consequence. This is seen in the film The Day After Tomorrow, where attempts to control the climate lead to a new ice age, a stark warning of the potential dangers of meddling with nature. So, what does this all mean? It seems that while we are captivated by the idea of controlling the weather, we also recognize its potential dangers. We understand that with such power comes the potential for misuse and catastrophe. As they say, with great power comes great responsibility. So, how close are we in reality to controlling the weather? Well, as it turns out, the concept is not as far-fetched as it might initially seem. In fact, various techniques of weather manipulation have been in practice for a while now. Let's take cloud seeding, for example. This process involves injecting substances like silver iodide into clouds to stimulate precipitation. This technology has been used in various parts of the world to combat droughts and even to clear skies for important events. However, while these methods do offer some level of control, they come with their own set of limitations. For one, they are not always successful. Weather, by its very nature, is an incredibly complex system influenced by countless variables. Predicting and controlling it with absolute certainty is still beyond our reach. Additionally, these techniques can only influence certain aspects of the weather, and that too within a limited area. For instance, we might be able to induce rain in a drought-stricken region, but controlling larger-scale phenomena like hurricanes or altering the overall climate, that's a whole different ballgame. But here's the exciting part. Research in this field is ongoing and constantly evolving. Scientists are exploring more advanced and perhaps more precise methods of weather control. Some are investigating the potential of lasers to induce rain, while others are studying the impact of solar radiation management as a way to counteract global warming. It's also important to remember that with great power comes great responsibility. As we inch closer to the possibility of controlling the weather, we must also consider the ethical implications. Who gets to decide when and where it rains? Who bears the responsibility for any unintended consequences? While we're not quite there yet, the dream of controlling the weather remains a tantalizing possibility. Until then, don't forget your umbrella.